Can you believe that after everything I went through, after surviving a horrific crash that should have killed me, after inheriting more money than I could ever dream of, the very first thing I saw when I opened my eyes in the hospital was her? His new wife. And let me tell you, the look on her face, the pure, unadulterated terror in her scream when she saw me, was a sight I'll never forget. Was I wrong for the satisfaction I felt in that moment? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. You see, my story isn't just about surviving an accident. It's about surviving a betrayal that cut deeper than any physical wound. It all started so innocently, or so I thought. My life before the crash was comfortable. Not extravagant, but comfortable. I was married to Mark, a man I genuinely loved and trusted with my entire being. We'd been together since college, built a life, a home, shared dreams of a future filled with laughter and grandkids. He was my rock, my confidant, my everything.
Or so he pretended to be.
I worked as a graphic designer, and he was a software engineer. We had our routines, our inside jokes, the kind of easy companionship that only comes from years of shared history. Looking back, there were subtle cracks, tiny fractures I chose to ignore, dismissing them as the normal ebb and flow of any long-term relationship. A late night here, a vague excuse there, a growing distance in his eyes that I attributed to work stress. I was too in love, too trusting, to see the monster lurking beneath the surface. Then came the news that changed everything, and not for the better initially. My eccentric great-aunt Beatrice, whom I hadn't seen in years but always sent me a bizarre, hand-knitted scarf for my birthday, passed away. I was saddened, of course, but didn't expect much. Aunt Beatrice was known for her quirks, not her wealth. So when the lawyer called, I was expecting to hear about a box of old buttons or perhaps a collection of antique thimbles. Instead, he informed me that Aunt Beatrice, a shrewd investor nobody knew, had left me her entire estate, a staggering $11 million. $11 million. I remember just sitting there, the phone numb in my hand, the world spinning. My first thought was Mark. I couldn't wait to tell him, to share this incredible news, this life-changing fortune. I envisioned us traveling, buying that little cottage by the sea we always dreamed of, maybe even starting a foundation to help animals, something Aunt Beatrice would have loved. I called Mark immediately, practically shouting the news down the phone. He was oddly subdued. He feigned excitement, of course, but there was a strange hesitancy in his voice, a forced cheerfulness that prickled at the back of my mind. I brushed it off, attributing it to shock. Anyone would be in shock. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, financial advisors, and endless paperwork. Mark became increasingly distant. He was often working late, stuck in meetings, or traveling for business. Our conversations grew strained, our intimacy non-existent. I tried to talk to him, to understand what was going on, but he'd just shut down, blaming my new money stress for my anxieties. He even suggested I was imagining things, that the sudden wealth was making me paranoid. I began to doubt myself, to wonder if he was right. Perhaps I was just overwhelmed. Then came the accident. I was driving home late one night after a celebratory dinner with my best friend, Sarah, who was absolutely thrilled for me. The roads were wet, slick from a recent rain shower. I remember the headlights coming at me, blindingly fast from nowhere. A screech of tires, the sickening crunch of metal, and then darkness. I woke up in a hospital bed, a haze of pain and confusion. My body ached in places I didn't know existed. My head throbbed. The first face I truly registered was Sarah's, her eyes red-rimmed and full of relief. She explained I'd been in a severe head-on collision. My car was totaled.
I was lucky to be alive.
I had a concussion, a broken arm, several cracked ribs, and countless bruises. But I was alive. Miraculously, I was alive. The first person I asked for was Mark. Sarah's face clouded. "He's been here," she said, her voice tight. But he had to leave for work. Something in her tone, a flicker of anger in her eyes, made me uneasy. I dismissed it again. He was busy, important. He loved me. He must be worried sick. Days turned into a week in the hospital. Mark visited, but his visits were brief, almost clinical. He never stayed long, never held my hand, never offered comforting words. He just stood by the bed, asked if I needed anything, and then made an excuse to leave. I was hurt, deeply so, but I was also heavily medicated and still in a fog of pain. I told myself he was struggling to cope, that my injuries were scaring him. One afternoon, Sarah came in with a determined look on her face. "We need to talk," she said, pulling up a chair. "Something's not right. My name?" She had been doing some digging, piecing together Mark's recent business trips and late nights. It turned out Mark wasn't just busy with work. He was busy with someone else. A woman. A new wife. Sarah had discovered through a mutual acquaintance that Mark had been having an affair for months, and not just an affair. He had secretly married this woman, Lisa, a week before Aunt Beatrice's will was even read. He had kept our marriage a secret from her, telling her I was an old college friend or a distant relative. I still don't know what lie he spun. And he was trying to expedite our divorce, filing papers while I was still in the hospital, hoping I wouldn't notice with all the pain medication and confusion. The sheer audacity, the cold-blooded calculation of it all, made my stomach churn. He wasn't just having an affair. He was attempting to steal my life, my future, and my inheritance. The 11 million. It all clicked into place. His subdued reaction to the money, his distance, his desire to be rid of me. He wanted the money, and he wanted his new life without the messy entanglement of his actual wife. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, broken and bruised, recovering from an accident that almost killed me, only to discover my husband was a two-timing, conniving snake who had already moved on and was trying to discard me like trash. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted him directly? Would you have just walked away and started over? Or would you have planned something a little more poetic? I was furious, heartbroken, and utterly devastated. But amidst the pain and anger, a cold, hard resolve began to form. I wasn't just going to be a victim. I was going to fight back. With Sarah's help, I started gathering evidence. We found the marriage certificate, the divorce papers he'd filed without my knowledge, even photos of him and Lisa together, looking sickeningly happy. The betrayal cut so deep it almost consumed me, but I channeled it. I used it as fuel. I told my lawyer everything. He was appalled. He immediately put a stop to Mark's attempts at a quick divorce and began building a case for fraud and bigamy. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. One morning, still in my hospital gown, barely able to walk, I was trying to make my way to the lounge area for some fresh air. My arm was in a sling, my head still fuzzy, but I was determined to regain some semblance of independence. As I turned a corner, there she was, Lisa, Mark's new wife. She was walking towards me, looking flustered, carrying a small bouquet of flowers. She must have been visiting someone else, or perhaps she was even there to see me, pretending to be a concerned friend or relative of Mark's, completely unaware of who I truly was. The moment her eyes met mine, her face, initially polite and slightly curious, drained of all color. Her mouth fell open. The flowers dropped to the floor. And then she screamed, a piercing, terrified shriek that echoed through the quiet hospital corridor. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, and in a way, she had. The woman Mark had surely told her was gone, out of his life, perhaps even dead, was standing right in front of her, battered but undeniably alive. The look of utter horror, the realization dawning in her eyes that her entire world, built on Mark's lies, was about to crumble, was more satisfying than any revenge I could have planned. The scream attracted attention. Nurses rushed over. Lisa was shaking, pointing at me, incoherent. I just stood there, a small, knowing smile playing on my lips. I didn't have to say a word. Her reaction said it all. Mark was called, of course, frantically trying to explain his way out of the mess. It was chaos. The hospital staff, initially concerned for Lisa, quickly realized the dramatic implications of the situation. My lawyer was on the phone within minutes, thanks to Sarah, who had alerted him. The aftermath was swift and brutal for Mark. The bigamy charge alone was enough to destroy his career and reputation. The divorce, when it finally went through, was anything but quick. He lost everything, his house, most of his savings, and certainly any claim to my inheritance. Lisa, who was apparently a genuinely nice person duped by Mark's elaborate lies, was devastated. She filed for an annulment and wanted nothing to do with him. She was a victim too, in her own way. As for me, the recovery was long, both physically and emotionally. But with the incredible support of Sarah and my family, and the unexpected cushion of Aunt Beatrice's $11 million, I slowly but surely rebuilt my life. The money allowed me to pursue passions I'd always dreamed of. I started a small foundation for animal rescue, just as I'd envisioned, and traveled extensively. I learned to trust again, to open myself up to new experiences and new people. The scar from the crash is a reminder of how fragile life can be, but also how resilient the human spirit is. The memory of Lisa's scream is a powerful reminder that sometimes justice doesn't need to be orchestrated. It just happens. So, that's my story of betrayal, survival, and an unexpected inheritance. It taught me that sometimes the universe has a strange way of evening the score. Life can throw curveballs you never see coming, but you have the power to decide how you catch them and what you do next. If you were on my side through all of this, please like this video. Subscribe for more stories like this, and definitely share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I want to hear what you think. I'll see you all in the next story.